was somebody at Intel, there was somebody at Mercedes-Benz in Europe, I believe. We've had some folks, I think, in India get connected with HCL, one of our hiring partners in India. So probably missing a few off the top of my head, but what I get really excited about from a success story standpoint is the students who get hired working into the industry. We have a student who got hired into an internship at Ford, I believe, working on their autonomous vehicle team. And actually, the way I kind of foresee this working is probably there will be like a lot of internships and contracts early on as employers say, well, this is like a little odd. Like normally we hire folks who went to Michigan State or got a PhD from Stanford, but let's try this out. And our hope is that it will grow and be a really virtuous cycle as more and more people, or folks like you who work at folks like many of you who work at autonomous vehicle or at automotive companies, are familiar with the program, that it will make it easier for students to find jobs and get hired.
Awesome. Have you been approached by other companies that are not official hiring partners but are looking to hire self-driving car nano-degree participants?
Yeah, we get approached by companies quite a bit. We try and make them hiring partners. Sometimes if it's really small and it's a real one-off. I had a friend of a friend who wrote me and said, I work for this nonprofit. We need one computer vision contractor for 4 months. I just try and connect them to somebody, in that instance, because it's not worth setting up a longer-term relationship. But in general, if a company comes to us and says, "Can you send us candidates?" Which happens, then we say, "Yeah, for sure. Can we do this on a more regular basis too?"
So that's it for the questions that were submitted, and then maybe a question in regard to Udacity. So it seems like if you shape the whole thing together, the vehicle is so you have autonomous stuff supplying you pretty much the vehicle ready to tinker with, so to speak. Then you have data speed helping with the CAN stuff. Mm-hmm. And so is the strength of Udacity writing the computer vision software, it's identifying objects and classifications? Is that a fair statement, or?
So we're talking just about kind of the self-driving car at this point,
So the program. Sorry, not the whole.
Not the whole nano-degree program, not the whole company, just the car itself.
Just the cars.
A lot of the strength, and this was a little bit surprising, is just stitching together components. A lot of the software is out there in ROS and AutoWare. Right. It won't get you to a production-ready level 4 vehicle, but the Voyage folks and Udacity has gotten pretty far by just kind of figuring out how to connect together different open source software components and fix things when they break. And there's a lot of debugging. A lot of this software is open source, but it's not like a Linux level reliability. And so there are weird corner cases and stuff we have to overcome. But you actually, to build these things, it turns out you don't need to start from zero and build it all up yourself. Now, if you're an automotive manufacturer, supplier, there may be IP issues that cause a company to decide they don't want to build off of open source, they want to build their own stack, and that's a whole separate question. But if you're just looking to get a car kind of driving itself from point A to point B, a lot of that can be done with open source software.
All right, well, that's it for the questions that were submitted. We'll open it up now to any other question.
Yeah.
If you had to guess, which company do you think will be the biggest player in this industry?
I had to guess which company will be the biggest player in the self-driving car industry. So I think companies will do different things. I think Uber is really motivated because their life depends on it. If Uber can't get self-driving cars right, somebody else will, and they'll put Uber out of business. So I think they're a strong bet to figure out how to get it right because they are so motivated. I have personal ties to Ford, and I think the work they're doing is great, and I think they're thinking some really interesting thoughts about mobility as a service in general, not just cars. And so I'm excited to see what they do. Cruise is probably, so I'm not sure I'm going to give you an answer as much as just kind of rattle off 10 different companies and what they're doing. But Cruise is probably the second largest tester of autonomous vehicles right now. They have a huge fleet in San Francisco.
It's just, GM, right?
Yeah, Cruise is now owned by GM. Driving around San Francisco, just the data they're gathering is terrific. Tesla gathers more data than anybody because all of their cars are well equipped to gather data that they then hoover up through users or consumers' home Wi-Fi networks. And I think just that data in machine learning, data is kind of half the game, or maybe 3/4 of the game, and so that puts them at a big advantage. Google has been doing this for longer than anybody and has the best level 4 vehicles. It seems like they're still trying to figure out what they want to do with that, if they want to launch a ride-sharing service, if they want to become an automotive supplier, if they want to build a kind of Android for self-driving cars. That still seems up in the air. And Apple's off in Cupertino, not talking to anybody about what they're doing. I guess maybe one day they'll unveil an Apple car and it'll just throw the whole world into it. Yeah. Who's next?
So the content of term 2 does not really build upon term 1. So why does Udacity not allow someone to join term 2 directly?
So that's a fair question. I think the content maybe builds up. We think it builds up maybe more than you guys feel like it builds up. I'd be curious, what other people think. The goal for the program, and this was kind of an experiment, again, was to try and figure out how we get the highest number of people through the whole program. So one of the not so secret secrets about online learning is the completion rates are really low. And so I came into Udacity without a lot of background in this, and people said, well, we're going to try this new thing, which is we're going to basically tell people if you can't finish the program, you're going to get kicked out and you have to run the whole thing from the beginning, and see if that motivates more people to complete the program, and it seems like it's worked. That doesn't exactly get to your question of whether people could join in the middle. I think at the moment, probably the most honest answer to that is just we're not set up to handle that yet. We're so busy trying to build other stuff. We just have this mode where people start and then they progress through. I think as we kind of get to the end of building content for the program, so right now, well, maybe you guys don't know this, it feels to me very much like an open secret, but we're kind of racing to stay like a month ahead of the students, and we've been doing that from the beginning. So we're just about to release the control content, which is the end of term 2, and we're starting to build out term 3. Once we kind of get all of that kind of in hand and have kind of the whole thing built up, I think we may start switching around parts of it. We may start offering other ways to take course content because it is such a long slog for a year. So we may see other things coming, but for the moment, kind of all we're set up to handle is start at the beginning.
So I recently learned about Udacity Blitz, which is basically a software company that hires nano-degree graduates to work on projects remotely for other companies.
Yeah.
My question is, do you have plans to hire people from the self-driving car nano-degree first? And second, do you intend to work for OEMs on self-driving software or something like that?
Yeah, great question. So the question's about this part of Udacity called Udacity Blitz. This is another relatively new experiment. It's disconnected right now from self-driving car, but it's almost like kind of a consulting arm of Udacity. As students finish their nano-degree programs, they can join Blitz, and Blitz finds these contracts with different companies and is kind of a way for students to get work experience. And we think, or at least the sales pitch is that unlike other consulting or contracting companies, we want our partners to hire the software engineers. So it's kind of a good way for employers to maybe test out a team or an individual, is to work with them on a Blitz contract and then maybe hire them full time. So far, all of those contracts have been like web and app based, not car based, because there just hasn't been a lot of demand from car companies. So much of what car companies are doing is very secretive and very integrated with their overall technology stack. There's not a lot of clean areas you can slice off and say, we're going to hand this to a contracting company and have them build it. I know our Blitz team is trying, they're talking with some big potential customers right now trying to get those kind of contracts because they would like to have self-driving car students in Blitz, because self-driving car is kind of one of the hottest programs at Udacity right now. They'd like to kind of connect Blitz to that. And we would like that because it would give folks work experience. We just haven't been able to find the right contract yet. Cool.
Anybody else?
If you click your finger, does it turn grayscale?
That was all actually Ryan.
Get the lights, get the lights.
Should give credit where credit is due. Ryan came up with that, and then I kind of like ran with it. But Ryan's just pretty funny. He's got this very like serious kind of you know, all business personality, but he's one of those serious people who like then he'll like turn it on. Like, well, I didn't know you were thinking that.
Wi-Fi-thon.
Yeah, so the course is built, so for context, the program is built in Python and C++. The first term is in Python, the next two terms are in C++. Why we use C++ is maybe a little more obvious. It's kind of the fundamental language of the automotive industry. We use Python for a couple reasons. One, because TensorFlow, which is the deep learning library that we use, as well as OpenCV, both have Python bindings. And in TensorFlow's case, Python is kind of the primary language for TensorFlow. And when we kind of were building term one, we thought deep learning would be kind of the centerpiece of that, so it made sense to use Python. Also, we believed, and you guys can tell me from a Detroit perspective if we were right or not, that Python would be more approachable for a lot of students than C++, that a lot of students would have experience with Ruby or with Java or Scala or Perl or other scripting languages. I guess Java's a compiled language, but you know, be able to gain entry to a more object-oriented language like Python pretty quickly, whereas with C++, it would be kind of throwing them into the deep end right off the bat. So I hope we got that right. We've heard from some automotive companies that they'd really like more MATLAB in the course, maybe MATLAB instead of Python, and that may be something we do in the future, is build out more of a like an enterprise version that focuses on MATLAB as opposed to Python, maybe as opposed to C++. Something we're considering.
MathWorks is going to be out here next week.
We know the MathWorks folks well. We've had a bunch of calls with them. They seem really great. Are they going to be out here like with a meetup for you guys, or?
They're holding a conference for exactly those reasons.
Yeah, I mean their autonomous vehicle team is great. They're excited about the Nano Degree. They would really like to be part of it. They've told us they'll give MATLAB for free to students in the program. So far, I've kind of clutched on that because it just seems like a lot to Python. Well, if we integrate MATLAB as part of the program, and I've been nervous about that because it just seems like Python plus C++ plus MATLAB is just a lot to cover in one program, and we're trying to make it easier for students. We may move in that direction. To be honest, if you really want a free copy of MATLAB, I think there's some Coursera courses that use MATLAB, and you can get it for free as a student.
You can talk to me.
I probably shouldn't be speaking on behalf of Coursera or MATLAB, so I'll just leave it as a student, as a former Coursera student of that. So anyhow, I'm sure you're supposed to use it for nonprofit motives. You would never use an educational copy of MATLAB for anything else. So no worries.
Maybe,
Cool.
actually, if nobody else has questions, I don't know if you have questions you'd like to ask people who work in the industry.
All sorts of questions, but I'll ask them kind of over dinner so people can start eating. I asked folks over here what the best parts of the program were, so I'll come over here and ask what the worst parts were.
Traffic science.
While we're eating, I'd love to learn everybody's name and what they do. So it could be like sneak around the room while we're eating, and sort of have everyone introduce themselves, like name, where you're from, what you do, really brief.
Why don't you start?
Okay. While we're eating, David, your food's getting cold.
That's all right. That's all right.
My name's Lucio Miranda. I work for FCA. I'm from Boston originally.